And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today I have special guest reviewer Z Garcia.
What's happening?
And today we're looking at a new game from Portal called Imperial Settlers, which, okay, spoiler alert, I like this game a lot, but it has one flaw, and that's the name. Has nothing to do with Settlers of Catan, has nothing to do with the game Imperial. I would have named it something else had it been me, because Settlers is so like ingrained in people's minds that it's Catan.
Yeah, agreed. It's a bad name, man. You could have called it anything else.
Okay, but that being out of the way, that's really actually the only bagging I'm going to do in this game because it was a very enjoyable game from Portal. Z is already like a Portal fanatic. I don't know that there's any games from Portal that he doesn't like. And Ignacy Trepicek,
I think so,
is a designer and also the owner of Portal. Let's take a look at how it plays. We'll be back. The game comes with a ton of resources. We'll talk a little bit more about those later. And here's a scoreboard here. There's 5 rounds of the game, and here's where you keep track of the different players' scores. There's a deck of common cards that all players can draw from. Then you'll have a board that's of your color. This is the Egyptian board. And each board comes with a specific deck of cards. I should mention that the game also comes with a deck of solo variant cards. I know nothing about these because I don't play solo games, but note that that is an option in this game. Now, there's 5 rounds in the game, and the first thing you're going to do in each round is you're going to draw cards. Now, you always get to draw 1 from your own deck. In fact, you're going to start with 2 from your deck and 2 commons in your hand. However, you're then going to draw the common cards in different ways. The way that the game has, the basic way, is for the start player to draw 4, pick 1, pass it to the next player, etc. I prefer, and then you do that again, starting with the last player, picking 4, taking 1, passing it around. The game has an alternate way, a drafting way, which I recommend, where everyone draws 3, keeps 1, passes 2 to the next person, keeps 1, discard the last one. But both ways work fairly similarly. After you draw cards, players are then going to produce. They have production here. You can see that the Egyptians are going to get 3 people. They're going to get 1 raise token. They're going to get 1 shield. And they're going to get 1 gold. Now there's 3 main resources in the game. There's stone, food, and wood. A gold token is merely a wild token of those. And that's a pretty cool thing to have. Then, after all players have taken their production, players are going to take turns taking an action or passing. Once everyone's passed, the round is over. Now, one of the actions that you can do, it's a very simple action, is to build. So let's say, for example, I would like to build this card here. This is a caravan, and you can see in the top left-hand corner that it costs 1 food to build this. During the production phase, this is going to give me an extra food and an extra person. Now I put it near the top of my board. This doesn't really matter, but it makes it so much easier to look at everything. You place the production on the top row, you feature cards and action cards here, and there's actually roads on them to let you know. So for example, you can see this production card has no road going up, so you know that it goes at the top. Okay, so there's different cards that you can build. As I said, there's production cards. So for example, here's a watchtower card, which gives you a card. You get to draw a card from either the common deck or your own. It also has a building bonus that when you build it, you will instantly get a card. Here we have a old forest, which when you produce, during the production phase, gives you 2 wood. Here's a pyramid. This is a great one here. But this production building actually costs a gold, gives you a gold and a stone, and it costs 2 stone to build it. Now some production buildings, like this stone pit here, you'll notice that it costs 1 stone and it needs a foundation. When you build one of these, you have to take a building that's already in, let's say I had the old forest, and get rid of it to build it. So that basically you're using that first building as a foundation. Feature cards in the second column, when you build them, they essentially give you a special ability. For example, if I built these gallows here, you would note that this one here says, every time I raise, I get a victory point. Well, that's great. So that's what feature cards do. And then in the bottom row, when you build cards down there, you are going to get actions. And these are actions that you can take. As I was saying, one of the actions is building something from your hand. Another action is taking an action on a card. And then you'll usually mark it because you can only use each action once unless it says so. For example, this one here says maybe use twice, and you have an action here that anyone can spend where they can spend 2 people to get a wood, stone, food, or draw a card. You can use that one as many times as you want. Here I can spend a person and a gold to get a victory point. I'm sorry, to get 3 victory points. Much better than 1 victory point. And over here, I can spend 2 gold to get 2 victory points. Both these cards are great, but you'll notice they cost 2 stone each and getting rid of another building. Now you'll notice that I'm putting some cards on one side and some on the other. The common cards, which are green, go on this side. The Egyptian cards go on this side. That's because the common cards at the end of the game are worth 1 victory point. Egyptian cards are worth 2, but also common cards can be raised. Now, if you want to raise something as an action, you can spend 1 raise token to take a card from your hand and raise it, a common card, from your hand. So this card here, for example, says on it that when I raise this card, and let's let this camera get into focus here. Focus, camera. Focus. There we go. When I raise this, I get to draw 2 cards. So I just use a raise token, get rid of this from my hand, and I get to draw 2 more cards. And there are many different things to raise. Sometimes this one here, for example, has a gold and a wood when you raise it. You can also raise a card that someone else has in front of them, but only common cards can be raised. To raise a card that someone else has in front of them costs 2 raise tokens. And on your turn, you can place a shield if you have one. It will only last 1 turn, but it causes someone to have to pay 3 raise tokens to destroy it. But notice if they do destroy this, they're going to get a victory point and a wood. Now, the good news about being raised, and there's not much good news, instead of discarding the card, you simply turn it over. It's worth nothing to you, except when you're building a building that needs a foundation, I can discard one of these. See, it shows the building marker on it. And that makes that a little bit easier to build those buildings. Another thing you can do is you can make a deal with a building. Each of your buildings at the bottom says make a deal to produce, this one says a gold coin. I turn it upside down, put it under deals. It's going to produce that gold coin at the beginning of each production phase. It will also give me one immediately. It costs 1 food to make a deal with a card in your hand. So cards can be built, raised, or have deals made with them. Each of the 4 factions in the game has a very different ways to get victory points. They all play similarly. The main difference is the Japanese cards. These cards all can be raised, unlike the other ones, and they get victory points. However, the Japanese player can place their people on them as samurai, which makes it 1 more to raise them. And these cards are a little bit better than the rest of the cards in the game. Cards also have colors on them. These colors come into play sometimes. There will be a card, for example, this one here, this Carpenter's Workshop. This one here says each time you build brown building, you get a gold coin and a star. So they come into fact like that. After 5 rounds, you're going to take any points you got during the game. Points can be gotten from different actions and things. And again, each of your own buildings you build is 2 points. Each common building you build is worth 1. Whoever has the most points is the winner. Okay, we already talked about the name. Let's talk about the components.
Yes, the components.
And I love the artwork. I have to say, I really like this artwork, which is a little cartoony, but not overt. I mean, it still has this cool, I'm building a civilization.
Right, right. Well, here's where I'm going to come at this game from. I've played a lot of 51st State. I've played a lot of the New Era. Both games from Portal, and both of which this sort of comes from. A lot of the mechanics are taken from those games, and a lot of the feel, a lot of the ideas, the resource management in the game is almost a straight lift from it. So I'm going to be comparing those two a little bit.
And honestly, I haven't played the second one. I played 51st State. And I wasn't that big of a fan of it. I felt it was a little fiddly moving these little tokens around, and I'm just not a huge fan of that Earth has been destroyed, now we're all mutants theme.
Well, let's start right there. The theme. For me, I like the theme in 51st State. And going with that, I love the artwork in it. This is okay. It's cutesy. It just, to me, every card looks a little bit like a screen capture from like a Facebook game.
That's not a bad thing.
It's not, but I don't know. They're cutesy, but everything's super tiny because the roads are supposed to connect while you're playing the little carts down, and so nothing really screams out, look at this one card with amazing artwork. Everything's okay.
Well, I like it, and I like the theme, and I love the fact that you can play the barbarians. Because in almost every game, the barbarians are this annoyance that the game has. Oh, here comes the barbarians. Here you can play them.
Right,
that's fun.
right. And that's cool. I like that. I like the factions idea. I think that's great. The other game had it. This has it. It's solid. The thing that this game does that blows that other game out of the water is components in this game are amazing out of the box.
Great little components.
Absolutely. And then clarity of play. In this game took those and cleaned up the rules, made everything very clear to understand, made the symbology very easy to get across, whereas those games, even now, I still have to reference many times the rulebook because the symbols are so dense and there's so many.
Right, in this game I was able to teach it. I taught it several times, and every time I taught it, everyone understood it.
Absolutely.
So easy to explain. And so the big thing about this game is the cards being used in multiple ways. That's the in thing anyway these days, but I really enjoyed it here. You can raise a card. You can make a deal with a card. Mm-hmm. You can build a card. And you have to decide which of those to do with the cards. You have to decide which buildings you've already built. You might want to blow them up to build a new building.
Right.
You have to decide whether to go after your opponents. There's certainly interaction in this game. Mm-hmm. Once you go down that road, but you have to go down that road,
right.
and I find that very interesting because you go after somebody to get resources for yourself, but also to prevent them from winning. They might have a building they're just doing really well with.
Right, and you have to take it down. Yeah, and depending on what race you're playing, as you said, not the race, but the faction depends what you go for. So the barbarians definitely are going to get in your face,
and the Romans. Yeah. And in fact, this game tells you in the rulebook, it says for your first game you should play with barbarians and Romans. Really, you should heed that because the Japanese and the Egyptians are different to work with. The Egyptians have some funky buildings, and the Japanese can be attacked, which is really, it seems like it's unfair to them, but they have some really cool buildings too.
Yeah, and they can put out samurai to protect them.
They're like I would say they're the expert players should play those. Maybe.
Right. They're you definitely want to start with the easy ones, as you said, and ramp yourself up if you want to understand the game in a
and the factions are different, though. I really enjoy that.
And having that central board, which is another thing that this does, is it makes it very clear to play, lets you know where the card should go. It just lays everything out in a really neat way. I have to say, the absolute favorite thing for me in this game versus the other games I was talking about, every faction now has their own deck. And that just takes it to an 11 for me. Because you can put anything you want in that deck. Now it's not drawing from a common pile. The common pile is there. You draw from there as well. But you have your cards for your faction that no one uses. And I think that really gives it tons of flavor. And
the rulebook talks about how there will be more cards for your factions in the future, so you'll be able to maybe build a deck a little bit if you want to.
Right.
And that looks like a neat idea. Although, when I was done with my first game, I said, wow. I went through maybe 1/3 of the cards in my deck, and we went through 1/3 of the common cards. The second game, I saw completely different cards.
Yeah.
Although after my first game, I grabbed my whole deck and was like, oh, I wanted to build that. Oh, that would have been so great. And you can get some pretty cool combos. The game, you'll play your first round. It's 5 rounds. You play the first round and you say, oh, this is going to be a really short game. First round took 5 minutes. But each round, I would say, almost is 50% longer than the previous round. Or maybe even double, because you have that many more resources. And yet the whole game itself, the box says an hour to 90 minutes, or 45 to 90 minutes. I think it's close to an hour, even with the full set of 4 players. It might be a little bit longer depending on how long people take.
It's not bad. It definitely never feels long.
Yeah, but the play you get per time is very worth it.
Very high return ratio, yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's all thumbs up for me. I'm going to say now, this is my wild prediction with this game, Kennerspiel.
You think so?
Kennerspiel nominee, calling it right now.
Okay, well, I'm going to disagree with him only because of the timing of when it was released. It was released pretty early in the season for that.
Yeah, yeah.
But it should be.
It should be.
And it's a solid game. It is upper middleweight. No, it's middleweight maybe. I don't even know what middle and heavy are anymore.
Yeah, yeah. It's
a
not light.
solid
It's not
game,
light.
but you're not going to sit there and be like, oh, it's work to play it. It's fun. And I think the civilization aspect comes through. As the barbarians are like, oh, I got lots of people. I'm going to go do stuff with these people. And the Romans are like, oh, I'm going to destroy you when you're not looking.
Building all this other stuff.
And it's cool that your best buildings can't be destroyed.
Right.
And that's a nice thing,
unless
too.
You're the Japanese. Then you got to watch out.
Anyway, very much enjoyed this game. Imperial Settlers, thumbs up.
Look past this title and pick this game up.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.